It's now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, someone who represents the next chapter of leadership at Metropolitan and the forward-looking vision for Southern California water. Earlier this year, Shivaji Deshmukh was appointed General Manager of the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. He brings with him a distinguished career in public sector leadership, infrastructure planning, and large-scale utility management. His experience spans complex operational systems, long-term capital planning, and the collaborative governance that defines Metropolitan's role in our region. As General Manager, he's stepping into leadership at a pivotal moment, one that requires balancing reliability, affordability, sustainability, and resilience in the face of changing conditions. We are truly honored that his first water policy dinner keynote is here with MWDOC. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Shivaji Deshmukh.
Thank you, President.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for doing this.
Good evening. It is such an honor for me to be here for many reasons. First, I want to thank President Dick for the lovely introduction. It's definitely a homecoming for me. I think many of you know I started out my career at Orange County Water District in the late 1990s. Yeah. I left in 2010, though, and coincidentally, the same year, I got married. And because I'm a 25-year resident of Costa Mesa, where do you go for a big family wedding? You go to the Westin. And so I actually celebrated my reception here. And fun fact about the wedding is I went in with MWDOC, and we went half in as a MWDOC policy dinner / wedding. So it's really a great way to get a discount on a 450-person wedding. So highly recommend it. One of the things I'm thinking a lot about is just onboarding at one of the most unique, biggest, amazing organizations in the world when it comes to water supply reliability. And I'm thinking back to my first board meeting last month where Director Ackerman gave a lovely invocation, and her themes were really centered around relationships and service. And it's something that's really been a hallmark of all of our careers. And I think about so many people in this room who I've had an opportunity to work with, not only at my time at Orange County Water District, but at 2 other Metropolitan member agencies that have really allowed me the opportunity to take on this job. I started thinking about some funny stories that would help kind of set the mood for the times that I grew up in the water industry, and I thought about the time my boss, John Kennedy at OCWD, graded my board letters and gave me a D-. I think about the time where I would use the restroom, and without automatic lights, John Kennedy would turn off the lights. I also think about the time where John Kennedy, as a prank, put my name as a single eligible bachelor in BC Water News as a prize for the 10,000th reader. All things that happened, all things that I didn't officially complain about, and here I am, the Met GM. It's really exciting to think about what this industry has done for me personally in terms of setting me up for success. 2025 was a big and very important year at Metropolitan Water District. One of our best general managers took over in a very challenging time, Devin Upadhyay, and the board made a unanimous decision to bring him in to bring stability to an organization that needed it. In addition to that, and President Dick already pointed it out, that a groundbreaking settlement took place between 2 agencies that were struggling for a number of years, and that's the San Diego County Water Authority and Metropolitan Water District. And thanks to the leadership of Chair Ortega and Chair Serrano, not only were we able to settle that longstanding dispute, but out of that came a new concept in how to work together. An example of that is the local supply exchange framework. These are opportunities for us, but it didn't stop there. In addition to the stability that Devin brought, I had an opportunity to apply and get this position. In addition to that, I had the support of not only the water industry, but two other groundbreaking general managers, both who I'm really fortunate are here today, and that's Ron Gastelum and Jeff Keitlinger. To take on a job like this, it definitely requires a lot of self-confidence. For me, that comes from most of the people in this room, but especially these three predecessors. And so I'm very fortunate not only to have them as friends, but have them as support and helping me along this way. Setting up for success is a very important thing when it comes to this job. And one of the concepts that I've been asked a lot about is, what is my vision? What is my approach? I'm just lowly staff. We have a board, and we have a board that is sometimes viewed as divided. I don't see this. I've seen impressive unanimous decisions over the past year and a half, starting with almost 100% approval to move and approve planning dollars related to Delta conveyance. I've seen our board come together when it comes to settling outstanding litigation. I've seen our board come together in terms of providing me support to enter into this job. And I think most recently, one of the most important things they did was allow me the opportunity to onboard with Devin. I had the ability to start in the position of general manager designate while Devin was running the entire organization. I got to go out, meet folks, meet our staff. I mean, as you can imagine, it takes months to just tour all the Metropolitan facilities. But it really gave me a sense of pride because not only was I getting to meet the people keeping this huge engine running, I was learning about the complexity of the system so that on January 1st, when I had the opportunity to take over, I had that confidence to make sure I know who and where to go for help. But back to that vision and priorities and setting up for success, I think the direction is very clear and it's very simple. We have infrastructure, we have people, we have funding, and we have planning to do. And all of those decisions I feel are clearly laid out for me. One example of that is our Camp for Water process. Over a 2-year period with a significant amount of engagement from directors as well as staff and the member agencies, we put together a new framework to evaluate how we were going to look at projects going forward. That is crucial at this time. In addition, I mentioned the importance of having a commitment on how we're going to plan for Delta conveyance and determine if that's the right path for us. Not only do we have that path forward, we also have identified places that if we're not seeing the return on investment or the commitment, we have an ability to adjust the course we're moving forward with. We've also learned from this region. The most groundbreaking project around the groundwater replenishment system serves as a model for the future of Metropolitan Water District with Pure Water Southern California. We have some really interesting challenges ahead of us. How are we going to pay for it? How are we going to build it? How do we stage it? But those are challenges that I'm very comfortable that we can face together. But in the end, everything comes down to those 4 issues. For me, I'm very focused on a people-based approach to solving problems. It's what I've experienced in the past that leads to success. I think it's the example, or using GWRS as an example, the engagement of not only water agencies and stakeholders in this room, but the NGO community, as well as unique partners and stakeholders out there, really prove that together you can accomplish a lot. As we go forward, our job at Met and our staff's job is to be able to bring the facts forward to the board so that they can really focus on the complex policy decisions ahead of them. One of those is affordability. It's a broad term that we use in our industry, and I'm glad that it's being used in different ways, but I do think that we have to come together as a group and figure out what affordability means. My simplistic view of affordability before was dollars per acre foot. That doesn't work today in today's climate. We have changing issues on the Colorado River with the State Water Project, with investment in local supplies, and our ability to adapt is crucial. And simply just comparing one water supply against another based on its dollar per acre foot or unit cost is not going to be enough. We also still have a tap water communication issue. I'm really appreciative of the leadership of our chair and our board to make sure we prioritize the promotion of tap water, but that factors in to the concept of affordability. We're concentrated so hard on keeping the cost of water low for our customers at an amazing deal, while many of our customers are still sometimes literally physically hauling water from grocery stores to their homes unnecessarily and actually putting themselves at risk. To me, that gives us an opportunity, or essentially a headroom, to be able to invest more. The last 25 years in my career, I've seen a great change in the way we communicate and how we outreach. This community was able to convince North and Central Orange County that was the right thing to do to recycle wastewater and use it for a potable supply, and it set the model throughout the metropolitan service area. We can do the same when it comes to tap water. But affordability doesn't mean, and this definition of affordability doesn't mean that we can just do an all-of-the-above approach. We have made so many great commitments in Southern California, and that when you look at the entire watershed within the Colorado Basin, we are the model. We are the ones who prioritized conservation 25 years ago under Ron's leadership at the staff level at Metropolitan, creating the Be Water Wise campaign. We are the region that developed potable reuse and non-potable water recycling. We are the region that brought on board an ocean desal plant. We have the ability to do grand things in our region, but we also can't carry the burden for the entire Southwest. I say that all recognizing that we're going into a challenging budgeting process. And to me, the challenge is, what are the choices we make? The good part is we have a lot of great options out there. And for us now at the Met staff level, working with 26-member agency, it's our job to figure out how to bring those facts to the board. We need to be very sensitive to the fact that we run an extremely unique set of infrastructure from intake on the Colorado River to Southern California. We're not able to leverage a workforce that's used to working on large-scale motors and pumps and aqueducts. We have to develop that workforce ourselves. Factoring that into the budget is going to require staffing increases. It's going to require investment in infrastructure. It's going to require rate increases. But ultimately, with the leadership of the board and what I've been hearing is, we have to present a consideration of reliability, and ultimately, the directors representing our 19 million residents have to figure out what they're comfortable with and what level of reliability we want to provide. Being set up for success, another example of that is when I started this position, we're coming in with extremely high credit ratings after a recent evaluation from Standard & Poor's as well as Fitch. And what that does to me is it shows that the markets know what we're doing. They believe in us, and they believe we're a good investment. It's important for us to make sure that we take advantage of that as we go out and make these tough decisions on what we want to debt finance. Ultimately, it's our job to reevaluate the way we consider our financial planning. We've made a lot of changes in the past few years. We've shifted more of our costs. We've recognized that we have 80% of our operations on fixed costs. And our board has made the tough decision to shift those costs over, and that provides us financial stability, and the markets recognize that. It's extremely important now. You're getting a lot of information in the press in regards to what we're doing on the Colorado River. How are we set up for success? This board and the Metropolitan staff comes in with a consensus-based approach of dealing with 6 other basin states, 1 other country, and 30 Native American tribes. As a reminder, we're 40 million people on the Colorado River, and Metropolitan essentially represents half of those. What I learned in my short time working with Devin is make sure that Metropolitan is represented. Your former GM, your current GM, and our current staff prioritizes that. And what I've seen is a commitment to make sure Metropolitan's voice is heard at this proverbial table, and it's being heard loud and clear. The reception that we've received and the appreciation for being willing to listen and make sure that our priorities and expectations are clearly heard has definitely been communicated back to me. So this is not something I need to change. This is great momentum for us, and I look forward to be able to support our team in carrying out these negotiations. As a reminder, California is a major water rights holder on the Colorado. Metropolitan is not. But just remember that 50% of the population resides in our service area, and you recognize the importance of our advocacy. Another realization, starting at Metropolitan November 3rd, getting to attend Aqua as well as Colorado River users, is that I was blown away at how many partnerships we have. There are partnerships I wasn't even aware of, there are agencies I wasn't even aware of, but that is the model, and that's the model that we need to communicate as we talk about what we're gonna do on the Colorado River. We have big investments to consider and big projects. We talked about Delta Conveyance, we talked about pure water. There's also Sites Reservoir. All these are new concepts and new projects out there, but we also have $50 billion in existing infrastructure that requires repair. We're also basically half of the customers along the state water project. We have challenges there. Just like all of our systems, they require replacement and refurbishment, care, investment, and in the case of the State Water Project, we're seeing subsidence take place that could have a significant impact on our imported water supply. This is why it's more crucial than ever to update the way we manage our planning efforts, and the timing on the Climate Adaptation Master Plan for water couldn't be better than ever. We have to make sure it's able to respond to the changes. What will happen in 1 week, 1 month, or at the end of the year on the Colorado River is unknown, but Metropolitan has to be prepared to be able to adapt to that. I have no doubt that we'll be able to do it because we have a proven track record in our area. And one of the things that's been a clear message to me from the member agencies is make sure that Metropolitan communicates the investment our ratepayers have through their water rates for that local supply, that conservation, and that's being done. I'm very impressed with our staff that's working on this. All of you know Bill Hazenkamp. He is one of the best and most respected in the Colorado Basin, and I'm really proud that he's representing Met to support our principal as they negotiate this contract. We also can't forget what we've done so well in this region, and that's conservation and local supply. I talked about groundwater replenishment system, but we also need to talk about conservation and the commitment this region has made even before we entered into developing these new supplies. And MWDOC is one of those leaders when it comes to conservation leadership, whether that's outreach, turf replacement, or leak detection. Just as a fact, Met's turf replacement program has already removed more than 230 million square feet of grass across the region, and part of this was really a testament to the partnership of MWDOC and the member agencies within this group. And since 1990, over $1 billion has been invested in Orange County. The other thing that's extremely important to us, and we need to continue to look for more opportunities, both within the service area as well as outside, is storage. The Orange County Groundwater Basin has partnered with Met for over 20 years in terms of being the model for conjunctive use. Trust me, I've worked in some other groundwater basins. This is the groundwater basin that knows how to manage their supplies. In regards to Metropolitan, we're doing a great job managing our regional storage and hitting record highs at 3.8 million acre feet this year. Ultimately, none of this can be done in a vacuum. Regional collaboration was, and will continue to be the key. And so it's our job to figure out more ways for us to collaborate. I had mentioned one of the great things that came out of the settlement with San Diego County Water Authority and Metropolitan was the development of a local supply exchange framework. We're extremely excited to use this as a model, not only for within the Met service area, but how can we do this on a bigger scale? And I really appreciate the leadership of the County Water Authority to get out there and figure out how to move some of that water and that strong commitment to local investment they've made and share that with the rest of Metropolitan. My career started in Orange County. I'm so happy to be here. I'm still a resident of Costa Mesa. This region is extremely important to me. But one of the best parts about being able to come into the Met job is having worked in 3 different counties within the 6 in the Met service area, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity. As I look ahead, what I've been finding, not only use the projects and programs that I talked about today, but really leveraging the experience of the last 6.5 years working for the Inland Empire Utilities Agency, an agency that, to me, truly embodies the concept of one water, the ability to have so much responsibility under one roof, and to do that all in an extremely cost-effective manner. And I think a lot about what set me up for success here at Met, I'm 4 weeks in, is my time there and the leadership that they have. So I just wanted to express my thanks, the current board president, Director Eli, as well as the other directors who are here tonight. Metropolitan is typically described as a collective. We are a collective, a 26-member agency. I don't think it exactly reflects the governance structure, but I want to create a kind of new concept here. It's a collective of 26 member agencies represented by staff. And I think, at least from my perspective, a missed opportunity would be not to take advantage of the great partnerships, camaraderie, friendship we have to get things done. In my 3 weeks before, my 4th week now, I've already seen some really honest dialogue, some coaching, some ideas, and this is the way things are gonna get done now, and it's my job to continue that. Once again, thank you, President Dick, for this opportunity to speak, and thank you all for letting me be here today.
Thank you, Shivaji, for those insightful remarks.
You're welcome.
I looked that up. That's not an insult. That's good.
Okay.
We now have time for questions from the audience. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and either Jasmine or Katie will bring a microphone to you. And if you don't have questions, I have some. Because sometimes people get bashful. Is there someone raising their hand I didn't see? I cannot believe Al Netterhood didn't have a question. Oh, but Stan Sprague does. Stan Sprague's right down front. Please get him a microphone.
I won't need it. You can all hear me, right? No, you can't hear me. Okay. It's maybe not as much a question as a comment of following up on your speech, which I really appreciated.
Thank you.
I think one of the areas that Metropolitan should seriously look at for storing water is in the San Joaquin Valley, mostly because there is a lot of space there. There is a lot of water to be had from runoff from the Sierras, and unfortunately, the farmers in the San Joaquin Valley can't seem to get their act together. So I think as part of our tactic, or your tactic could be, to offer them help on establishing these groundwater management plans that they need in exchange for some storage arrangements. Just a thought.
Can I comment on that?
I wish you would.
Thanks. I think many of you know me. 2 things about me are I'm impatient and I can't keep a secret. And one of the challenges with working at Med in my short time is there's a lot of amazing work that goes on there that is not ready yet. You know, we need to do the full analysis, but the minute I hear, one bit of information about it, I want to share with everybody. South of Delta storage allows for a lot of opportunity for us. And I got to share, our team is looking at that. We've heard updates, over the past a few weeks, and there's a lot of opportunity out there. One of the things that when you switch from the local supply focus to the statewide is where can we find that storage once we get it past the Delta? And I'm really excited to share with the local agencies soon some great work the team has done. But we definitely agree storage in the Central Valley is going to be crucial for us.
Thank you. And I appreciate hearing that from you. Thank you for that question, Stan. And Mr. Ned Hood, I see you, and you're a member of the board, and I'm going to make sure you get a chance, but let's be honest about it. Sandra Jacobs was first.
Thank you. Sandra Jacobs, Santa Margarita Water District. Welcome to Orange County.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. You know, Santa Margarita Water District just pre-purchased millions of dollars worth of Metropolitan water in order to guarantee that price. What are you doing to make sure that the financial background of Metropolitan, number one, can deliver that water? And number two, if you're selling it on sale, what does that do to your future prices?
This reverse cyclic program has been very helpful to, as you pointed out, Director Jacobs, the revenue profile of Met. Our team did not take a one-year look at this. They recognized that this has to be a thoughtful exercise, recognized that this could have an impact a few years later down. Right now, our team, because of the current 10% allocation on the state, because of the storage that we have and the exchange programs we have full confidence we'll be able to deliver the water in the future. But in addition to that, these are factors that have been considered. You'll see that in the budget discussions over the next few months. But one of the things that we have guarantees on is that as we make those commitments, we're going to be thinking about what those impacts are a few years later. So in short, we thought about it, and we'll make sure that those issues are addressed in our biennium budget coming up.
Thank you, sir. Director Naderhood. Al?
Shivaji, great speech, and welcome home to Orange County. In your speech, you mentioned a couple of really key items about the current and future situation at Met, the State Water Project, rates, and revenue. And since the State Water Project is about a $650 million fixed expense with a little variance, it seems that in the past, the ad valorem tax was used very effectively to cover that. What's your perspective on that going forward? I know it's a political hot potato in some areas, but it seems like a very practical way to be to address some of the cost structures and create some ease on the rates as well.
Director Naderhood, it's definitely a great option in terms of shifting over to a fixed revenue. The board took that action last year in terms of adjusting our AV. That's always something that's on the table and should be considered, and I'd say it has to be looked at. Ultimately, that's a board decision in terms of what we can put onto the property tax.
We always like to talk about taxes. It's always one of my favorite topics. I was taught by, I won't mention any names because I don't want to embarrass Ron Costello, that it was okay to avoid them, but you shouldn't evade them. I don't know what that means, but I think it means that many of us believe that the property tax does a couple of things. It provides for stable income. It provides an opportunity for many people perhaps to write that off. And it provides an opportunity for some people who may own raw land but are still have enhanced value for that land by virtue of the fact that it has Metropolitan there to deliver water, for them to contribute a little bit to the long-term virtues of Met's budget. So I'm with Director Netterhood. I think it has great value. As I look at this, I want you to not feel nervous about the fact that this is MWDOC. I don't want you to feel uneasy about the fact this is your own backyard, that you do live in Costa Mesa. But I did want to point out, as I was sitting here, I did note that the general manager used to live in Orange County, or the former general manager still lives in Orange County. You live in Orange County. The chairman lives in Orange County. One of the former chairmen, Jack, lived in Orange County. One of the former chairmen, Wes, lives in Orange County. Maybe Orange County has something going on in water. I'm just saying that when Carl and Linda and Dennis and our newest Met director, Dr. Director Randy Crane, give you an idea, it should probably be the one that you go with. Just an idea.
Helpful advice.
Was anybody, hello, not Larry. Okay, Larry.
The other Larry. Thanks, Shivaji, for being here.
Thanks.
I have watched with a lot of admiration over the years the pretty aggressive program for partnerships in the Colorado River Basin. You alluded to some of that, but I think, really specifically about water use efficiency and salinity control, Met has made a lot of investment upstream that helps it benefits the Metropolitan District. I've thought for a long, long time that it would be really wonderful for the Southland to make comparable investments in the health of the headwaters of the State Water Project. And I felt so strongly about how that area should be helped that I went up there and gave them my blood and sweat for the last 5 years. But now I'm back down here. But I'm just curious if you could speak a little bit about Metropolitan's views, visions of partnering in forest health and headwaters protection in the State Water Project area, making investments in California.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. I had mentioned when I started, one of the pleasant surprises was the realization of all these existing and recent partnerships. And that's an area where I learned that Metropolitan's doing great work. In Yuba County, in other areas north of Sacramento, the relationships and the goal to find mutual benefit, I feel, has really expanded in the last few years. And now we're starting to see some really tangible results from that. We're using some of those partnerships that were established as pilot programs and using those as kind of a springboard to move from there. One of the things I appreciated, 1 week into my job, Chair Ortega said we're going up north, and we've started scheduling meetings up there and opportunities to partner with Northern California Water Association. These are all things that have been in the works for a while that I'm really excited to expand upon. But I think a lot of this, a lot of the test programs that have taken place over the last few years have proved to be very fruitful, and now we have to take advantage and move forward with those.
Thank you. Talking about the relationships that Met has, I've had the opportunity to see a number of them in work. And I too would join in recognizing and applauding the efforts that the chairman and others have made, particularly with agriculture. I think as time goes on, as you find it necessary to work one way or another to get water supplies released for some portion of the state that needs it, maybe not even our own, but as we work to find those solutions, ag is going to be one of our trusted partners. There are good people involved in the NGOs and the environmental world, but the very DNA, the litmus test for their presence is not to give up an ounce, forget an acre foot. The people that are farmers are realists, pragmatic, they're business people, they understand, and I feel like that's a bridge that needs desperately to be built or built upon, and I'm pleased to see that the chairman and with his ag committee has made that first step, renewing an ag committee commitment we've made, and I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that particular dimension of Metropolitan.
Yeah, one observation I've had is there's a lot of misconceptions out there in terms of, not specifically Metropolitan, but member agencies, urban perspective, that we all come at it from a competitive standpoint, whether that we look at water supply as a urban versus environment versus ag. And stepping into Metropolitan, I saw the opposite of that. Partnerships with water rights holders on the Colorado River with very unique programs to each of their areas, whether it's Palo Verde Irrigation District, the Quetzon Tribe, BARD, and Coachella Valley and IID. Each program is tailored specifically to what the unique needs are in that area for ag. To me, that doesn't reflect a competition as much as a willingness to adapt. And we're looking for more. I also have observed that there's not one simple model that Met staff is using in terms of opportunities for water conservation. We're also recognizing that there may be a new way for Met to invest. So it's really exciting to see what they're coming up with. And I think leveraging the experience on the ag community as well as the private industry has really brought us forward. But I do anticipate there's going to be a different way that we partner with ag, and it's going to be one that's going to be viewed as supportive.
Well, I look forward to hearing more about that, and I look forward to hearing more about the other programs you've outlined. Is there other questions among this august body? Well, I'm getting to see it. Thank you. Just speak up.
Hi, this is Trudy DeRoche from Yorba Linda Water District.
Well, hi, Trudy. Come on in.
I just wanted to ask, I have a few years of experience at Metropolitan Water District, specifically at the Deemer plant. And in the 20 years that I was there, I saw the plant go from pushing over 400 million gallons per day from that plant down to struggling to keep the plant running at 100 MGD. And I attribute that to a desire from the folks that take water from the Deemer plant wanting cheaper water. And as the prices for Metropolitan water continue to increase, are you concerned about, or how can you address the potential for stranding those resources? I know that several of Metropolitan's treatment plants were downgraded, and only Weymouth and Deemer haven't been downgraded yet. And I get concerned because Yorba Linda Water District relies on Deemer, but if the demand keeps dropping, what's the potential to strand that resource? And how can you keep that from happening?
This is going to be said with very little knowledge coming in, but I'll give you kind of a guiding principle that I would approach this at in terms of developing a staff recommendation. We all know demands are going down. My first reaction when we look at treatment capacity is to increase our reliability and increase our flexibility. So to me, if we were doing an evaluation in a case like that, I would prioritize our ability to keep that treatment plant more flexible, the ability to take units offline and be able to repair and rehab them. But like I said, that's just in terms of a hypothetical, but to me, that's the priority before we start stranding assets.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Trudy mentioned that she had some experience. Well, she was the general manager and did a crackerjack job at the Deemer plant. Yorba Linda continues to be a key part of the water puzzle, both for Metropolitan and for Orange County. And we thank you for those questions. If there is another question, I think I see one. I never know whether to recognize you as former Senator Dick Ackerman or Commodore of the Fullerton Yacht Club.
Commodore is a higher rank.
There you are. Commodore, please.
Quick question. During the last few years, and particularly going back to the drought, we heard a number of radio spots featuring Dodger managers, Dodger players, talking about conservation. In the last couple of years, the Dodgers won back-to-back World Series. My question is, would you consider using some angels in those ads?
This one's just for Devin. No, not at all.
Oh, God, thank you, Commodore. I'm glad you're here, but I think it's a good question. We've had a lot of questions. One of the others that comes up is often, and I heard you mention it, touch on it, is regarding salinity and continuing issues with salinity and other groundwater issues. If someone were to ask you, what decision you make today you think will be the most far-reaching? Would it be addressing subsidence, curing the Colorado River conversations, desal, price controls? And if you have children, you can say children and get yourself off the hook. I mean, but something keeps you up at night more than others. Do you know what it is yet, or has Devin shared with you his nightmare?
I don't think we had that conversation, but for me, it's the protection of our existing infrastructure.
When you say protecting it, is that the reinvestment in the infrastructure for
Correct.
reliability?
Yep.
Because we all know that we have an infrastructure that's built to carry more water than we're demanding from it today. But that doesn't mean we won't demand it from it next year. That happened, as we all know, very clearly in Santa Monica, when Santa Monica used no water, and then they had the problem with the groundwater poisoned, and they were automatically full bore on Met. We've had our own share of nightmares with PFAS. And because this is today, and I did read this, and I wanted everyone to know I read something once. This is Australia Day, and I say that because I think it's an interesting story. In 1778, a ship from England deposited the convicts from England in Australia. Their prisons were full, they had no room for them, and they were going to send them to the colonies, to the United States. But it so happened we had an American Revolution going on at that time, and they were a little concerned about their ability to sail their ship into port and drop these unwanted, challenging individuals, many of whom who weren't necessarily brigands but were disadvantaged and had committed crime because that's the only way they could exist. Those were different times in the world. I'm taking a long time to say this, but the point is, those disadvantaged, challenged people that had they brought them to this country, we probably would have raised hell about it, now have grown into one of the most outstanding countries in the world. A decision that was made because other things happened. What do you see as one of the other things that could happen that you might have to contend with? And I don't know what that would be, whether it be a change with the Secretary of Interior. As we all in this room know, that's the only, as I understand it, the only river in this country that has as its water master the Secretary of the Interior, proportion thereof. I mean, that's a big one, and this subsidence, how we address that's it's got to have you working on overtime on adrenaline.
Yeah.
Or is it having to come here and answer these questions?
Definitely not the latter. President Dick, I would say, and you introduced it with the water master of the Colorado River, what concerns me is if we lose the ability to reach consensus with the 6 other states and Mexico ourselves and shift that responsibility back to the federal government. It's really, we have a chance now to sort out the challenges ourselves, and we don't want to waste that opportunity. And if we don't do it by a certain deadline that seems to keep changing, then we lose the ability to be in control of our destiny.
I agree that we should try and be in control of our own destiny.
Yep.
And my concern is, I think the current date's the 13th of February,
Valentine's Day,
Valentine's Day.
which is a Saturday of a long week.
Well, it's good because we might have people with triskaidekaphobia that were concerned about the 13th. But the problem, as I see it, is the government is starting to be pressured on a number of other fronts. And as a result of that, I believe they are coming to the realization that a date that is not met without consequences isn't a deadline, it's just another date. And I am of the opinion that they in DC, because I know nothing, just an opinion, have just about had it, and we will be seeing some hardball if we don't figure out a way to clean up our own act. Last question, or we will proceed to let you go home. Please.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. The question is about water abundance. Does Metropolitan Water District ever talk about the concept of water abundance? We see a lot about that in certain press articles. And do you talk about that? Us as locals, as you know, we talk about water abundance. Regionally, it seems like it's water adequacy, and then from the state standpoint, it's more scarce. And so talking more abundance is a question. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm struggling how to answer that specifically, but the short answer is yes.
That'll work.
Okay.
Yep, good job.